All right. This is the very first episode of. I forgot what the name of the show's called. This is how good we're going. This is the very first episode of The Other Side of Success. Very privileged and honoured to have a good friend of mine, Luke Menzies, aka Ridge Holland, from the WWE. And again, there's a lot of people I'd like to thank in getting this up off the ground. Adamo Property Group for sponsoring this and allowing me to speak to these amazing people. So thank you to Adamo Property Group. Also, Luke, you being the first guest on here.
Yeah,
how you feel about that, mate? But
it's an honour. It's an honour. The first guest. Kick it off with a bang. I'll try and do my best and not not make it stink.
I'm sure you won't be doing that, mate. So basically, for those who don't know, Luke's a WWE superstar, originally from the north of England. Started off his career in professional rugby league. Mate, tell us how does this happen? How do you come from a professional rugby league background into a household name near enough all over the world? The WWE is massive, mate. How does someone like you, an honest, hardworking, good bloke, make it on the biggest stage or one of the biggest entertainment stages in the world?
I think it's been a little bit of potluck as well. Coming from the background that I came from, you're either a rugby league player, you're a bricklayer, a sparky. You're a tradie. But I always was a fan of wrestling growing up, and even throughout my rugby career, I'd always let it slip to someone. I'd like to do this, and then they'd tell the boys, and the boys would ride me hard. You know what I mean? Why do you want to do that? Rubbish,
Yeah.
And it got to a point where actually I was at Salford where me and you first met. And
just to clarify the wrestling, I used to dominate you in wrestling from my memory. Couldn't bruise a grape.
Yeah.
Couldn't bruise a grape.
Nah. I got dominated by a few people actually.
We've all been there. Don't worry about that.
Wild. But it was just I was on honeymoon actually. I got married and I was in Cancun, and I got a call from, I forgot who it was at the club, but they let me go on my honeymoon. So I was like, cheers. And then
the other side of success, mate.
The other side of success. So when one door closes, you got to smash another one open. So I saw a tweet by another British wrestler called William Regal, who's famous. He's just a British legend, and he was putting over the coaching services of the guy that coached him back in the day, who was a gentleman called Marty Jones, who was based in Oldham. So I shot this fella an email, just not expecting anything, laid in my bed in Cancun, and he laid me straight back. 2 days later I flew home, drove to Oldham, and that was my first wrestling practice. And it was weird, man, like a little ring, one light bulb above the ring, and I got in there. I felt at home. It was weird, man. You know what I mean? I felt at home. And 6 months later, WWE tryout. We had a few visa issues, so me getting to the US was delayed by about 12 months. So I had to go work on the Indies, around Europe and stuff, wrestle around Europe. But yeah, and then it just snowballed. And I guess here we are, mate. It's been a wild ride, and it continues to get wilder. Yeah,
mate. Talk to me about that initial move, relocation to the USA. You have a young family. What was it like? I've moved from Australia to the UK, so I appreciate and understand the pressures of going chasing your dreams, and then your kids and whatnot sort of being tagged along with it. How was that made? Obviously a big sacrifice you've had to make, but as well as them.
Yeah, that was probably the hardest thing, because my wife, she's a massive homebody. She's always around at mum and dad's, and she had a close knit group of friends. So that was the hardest thing, trying to convince her to come. And I said, listen, just give it 12 months. If it doesn't work after 12 months, we can reevaluate. I said, but that was the pressure for me. I had to make it work then, because she sacrificed that. It was on me to make this work. My daughter was 9 months old when we flew over to the US, so she's lived her life more in America than she has done in the UK. She's got a little American accent now, which is so it's it was it was a massive sacrifice on my wife's behalf as well. But that kind of gave me the fire to make this work, you know. Just 'cause I didn't want to let her down, you know. I didn't want to pull her out here, and then obviously having to go back and see my friends and them knowing that it had not worked out. I need to go out, I need to make it work. I can't make this big step and not make it work.
So what were some key factors do you believe that got you over those doubts, over those concerns? Was it just that undestructible self-belief that you can't let your family, yourself down? Were you driven by sort of the fear of pain and failure, or what do you think was a real driving factor for you in that?
It all stemmed from it. So my dad played rugby, right, and he kind of like pushed me in down that line of rugby, and it never felt like it was something that was mine. It always felt like I was doing it for somebody else. So when I got released and I started wrestling, I was like, oh, this is mine. I'm doing this for me and for the people that I care about. There's no pressure from my dad. I can do this. I'm the first one to do it. So it was kind of like the shackles were off, and it was finally something that I was in control of. That every decision that I made was solely my decision, you know. And if things didn't work, it was solely my fault. So there was a little bit of pressure there. But again, yeah, fear of failure. I won't say fear of failure, because, you know, if we don't fail, you know, you don't overcome anything. So you've got to fail. Little failures along the way, you know, help create that body of success. But it was the fear of letting people down, I guess. You know, like people kind of took jabs at me when I started wrestling. I'm like, I'm not going to give them the satisfaction of saying, I told you so.
Yeah.
So it was just like a big, making them eat the words and making a lot of them choke on the words. And now those same people that were naysaying and saying, why are you doing it? They're, you know, hitting me up for tickets. So it's,
oh, mate,
you know,
we can all relate. It sounds like there's been an identity shift. You know, when we're playing rugby, we're always known as Luke the rugby player, Corey the rugby player. But now, through what could have been, conceived as a shitty situation being released and whatnot, has actually turned into an amazing opportunity for you to create your own identity, one that's not forced, one that's organic, and one that's just blossomed into this monster of success, which is, you know, full credit to you, mate, because it's a big sacrifice, you know, and to see you, you know, on the TV and on the Instagram and all these cool things that you're doing, it's massive respect, mate. And I just wanted to put that in there early doors, because not many people would have the balls to do what you've done, or at least try it, and you've succeeded at it. So big respect, mate. Let's talk
mate.
about,
I think you
got a bit passionate there. Was that Ridge or was that Luke?
Yeah, I did.
Yeah, I thought I was thinking of Ridge.
50-50, mate, to be honest. Yeah. Yeah, no, I got really passionate. It's just, yeah, that's me. Sometimes I get a little bit into it, you know, just how I am.
That's how does the journey of characterization of you becoming Ridge Holland, is that something you came up with? Is that something the company came up with? I've always wondered that as a curious kid, and, you know, even as a curious adult now, like, how do you come up with your characters and alter egos, and do you have to practice much of it, and then things like that?
Yeah, so when I first started, we all report to the training base, the training facility, which is the performance center. Primarily, we film NXT there, and it's where everyone learns the ropes, learns how to promo, character development, which is what you've just alluded to. So from that, at first, when you kind of get there, again, learning the ropes, getting the basics down, and then when they kind of feel like you get in there, they'll put you on live shows. At first, I was wrestling under Luke Menzies, but then as you progress, they'll ask you to submit like 20 names, and then they'll vet them and say, okay, maybe this. Now, I'm you know, Ridge Holland isn't the most Yorkshire sounding name. I don't think I've met anyone else in my life called Ridge. But what happened was, Ridge was like the first name of another name, and then Holland was like the surname of another name, and apparently Triple H just put them together, and like, I like that. So they came to me with Triple H likes this. I'm like, well, if the boss man likes it, yeah, I'm Ridge Holland, and that's how it came to me.
Just don't
And
pedigree
then
me.
from there, yeah, exactly, yeah, just don't sledgehammer me. Right. But and then from there it was just the character wise, I was like, okay, I want to stay true to my roots. I want to kind of show people a little bit of what lads in Yorkshire are like. So I thought, what's synonymous with Yorkshire? Like, flat cap. So I thought, I'll wear a flat cap, and then I had the little like truncheon or whatever that I do, because I was always a big fan of a guy called Fit Finlay back in the day, and he used to carry a shillelagh with him, like an Irish one. So I thought, I'll take a little bit of that. And then I thought, okay, people are going to respond to things that are in pop culture. So flat caps, it kind of segued into Peaky Blinders. So I kind of took a little bit from Peaky Blinders, took a little bit from like Bill Sykes from Oliver, the original Oliver.
Yeah.
Took a little bit from that. A little bit of like Jack the Ripper type stuff, because I used to wear like a long jacket and stuff. So I would take just kind of these little bits of influence and just throw it at the wall and see what happened, but at the same time still throwing a little bit of Luke in there at the same time as well, because it needs to come across authentic. So the way that you do that is just, you can have all the bells and whistles, but as long as you put a little bit of yourself into it, you're golden.
Nah, that's cool, man, how it all comes about like that. So we've got the character of Ridge Holland. There's always been this talk about the WWE being entertainment. How does that actually work in terms of it being predetermined, the entertainment, that side of it? Because obviously you go into a character and you have to perform as that character, and it's entertainment in a show. I always wonder, like, playing rugby is a tough sport. You can say what you want about wrestling. I see you guys, what you put your body through. That's hardcore entertainment, if you ask me. How do you navigate through that stuff as well?
It's just learning the ins and outs of the business. So we are entertainment, I'm not speaking out of turn by saying that, we do know who's gonna get the W, or before we go in the ring, and it's our job to kind of put on the best match possible and be true in the ring to suspend whoever's in the audience, suspend their disbelief. So my goal is, if there's a dad and he's brought his kids to the wrestling, the kids are always on the edge of the seat. We've got them, we've got the kids. Yeah. But if the dad's like this, whatever. But then by the end of my match, he's like, he's leaning forward and he's intrigued. Then I've got him. That's my goal. And then if he goes, okay, well, I know this wrestling stuff's fake, but he's real.
Geez, that was good to watch.
Do you know what I mean? Yeah. It's like that. He's just suspending their disbelief. So if I hit someone, I can make a grown man go, oh, that's my job done.
Yeah. No, I love that. How much would you say the art of visualization comes into it? Because obviously, as sports people, there's a whole word about visualization and preparing for performance and whatnot. With your industry and the way you have to operate, do you use visualization in terms of what you think will happen throughout the match, and whether you know or not who's going to get the W? Well, but we don't know. There's certain aspects of this sort of, you might be laying up in your hotel room the night before and thinking, well, if I do that and he does that and this and that, what sort of role does visualization play with you in your performance?
It's everything. Like you just said, you need to hit the nail on the head. Like when I'm on a plane, in the car, in the hotel, we're always thinking of scenarios that we could put into a match. Or that'd be good. Or what if I did this? Would that get the reaction from the people if I did this? So you're always visualizing. Like how would that look? Like would it? Like if he hit me and if I sold the punch, or if I reacted this way to something he did, would that get a reaction? So you always visualizing how things might come across in the match. And even before we go out there, we're kind of going through in his heads, okay, I've got the steps. I know what we're going to do. I've got this idea. If it looks good in my head, fingers crossed that it'll come across well in the ring on live TV. So visualizations, it's massive, because that's the only thing that we have to kind of like bulletproof our ideas. If it looks good to us, it's like, okay, yeah, have I got it? Does it look good? And does it feel right? It's like, okay, yeah, let's go. So visualization is massive.
Yeah. I suppose one thing you can't visualize, and unfortunately it's an aspect in all sports, entertainment, is injuries. Now, you suffered a pretty heavy injury 18 months ago.
Yeah, a little bit over. It's probably comes to 2 years now, yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Ankle,
but
knee.
Yeah, the whole 9 yards, basically. My legs just went, not today.
Yeah,
so,
mate. How did you
dislocate a kneecap? Wait, it's just not good at all.
No, mate, and that's the thing. Like, as an athlete, we all go through injuries. How was that time for you? And how, being away from friends and family, chasing your dream, you're well on your way, and then to be set back so brutally. How were you with that?
It was tough. It was tough mentally. It was tough because I was just on the cusp of really getting onto something, and then just that freak injury happened, and it was 10 months. It sent me back 10 months. It took me 10 months to come back from those injuries. So as soon as it happened, I was like laid on the stretcher, and I was immediately thinking, okay, how fast can I get back?
Yeah.
What I'm going to do, everything that I can, leave no stone unturned, so that I'm able to come back and pick up where I left off. The positives was I was at home a lot, so I got to spend a lot of time with my daughter, a lot of time with my wife. Those are the positives. And for my wife even, she probably wanted to kill me because I'd be a little bit of a neg ferret, you know what I mean? Like, 'cause I'm laid up. I couldn't even, I couldn't do anything. I couldn't walk. I was on like a walker. So she had to basically do everything for me. So me being an independent man, that's a, that hits you in, massively in the head. It's a weird scenario having one person do everything for you, but I'm used to doing everything pretty much by myself.
For sure. How was the support you received there? Obviously you're going to have the best medical support, physical support. Did you find that you had enough support mentally, from friends, family, the company, things like that, to help you along these lines? Because it's quite a taboo subject in sport, especially. There's a lot of great people doing a lot of great things with athlete wellness and things like that. I'm curious to see what it was like for you in a foreign country, a new industry, etc.
Yeah, to be honest, I can't sing the company's praises high enough. They're always checking in, and then even the boys that I work with, they're always checking in. That even the guy called Sam Shaw, Dexter Loomis, we actually lived in the same area, and he would come to my house and he'd take me for a walk, and he'd push me around the lake. It was like it was like little Brian. He'd like push me around the lake and take me for a walk and stuff, and we'd have a chat. People would come visit me. So yeah, I had a ton of support, and it did make it easier. It just goes to show that no matter how down you are, there's always someone there. Even if you ask, a lot of people don't ask, but sometimes I would ask, do you want to come around for a chat? If you ask the question, people will be there for you, because what we've got to remember is everyone else has got their own lives to deal with. But if you put yourself out there and ask the question, there's people that have got your back, And I was lucky enough that some people I had to ask and some people I didn't. So I was well looked after. Yeah, well looked after.
Why do you think that people are, especially men, why do you think we struggle to ask for help or ask for a chat?
Man, I think I still have issues now doing it, no matter how small. I'll keep things to myself, or if I'm frustrated with things at work, I won't kind of vent to someone. I just think it's a pride thing. It's like, I've got to do this myself. I'll just I'll just keep it all here. You know, I don't know. I think it's ingrained in every man because as generations after generation after generation, we've been told, you know, stiff upper lip, be the provider, be strong.
Yeah.
You know, it's just been ingrained into us, and there has to be an outlet for that. And speaking on like mental health and stuff, I'll segue into a situation where I was playing for Dewsbury, and I was hating it. And I remember it got so bad, I was driving to training, and I came this close to just,
Yeah.
you know, turning my car off the road and slamming it straight into a tree. I was like, I cannot do this anymore.
Yeah.
And it's always, I wish I'd have spoke to someone before it got to that point, you know. And luckily, I've had no other issues like that before. Since. But yeah, I think it's just that stiff upper lip, be strong, you know, for other people. But as men, we need support too, and we need to talk, and we need to verbalise how we're feeling. And that's a big thing, is men don't know how or struggle to verbalise their emotions.
Yeah.
And I think if you sit down, because when you start to kind of verbalise your emotions or think about them, I think a lot of men get reactionary. And this, you know what I mean? It's just blurt out, they get frustrated, they get mad, and then it's just a massive cycle. But I think with me, like, meditation helped and things like that, you know, just breathing, taking a minute to, you know, just to be still and be at one with your thoughts and realise that you can have these thoughts. Thoughts are normal, but it's understanding why you're having these thoughts.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So meditation helped me you know, massively, and then it helped me being able to, if I could talk to myself and rationalise with myself, it made it easier to talk to other people.
Yeah. No, mate, I definitely feel that struggle to sometimes open up to people, and I feel like sometimes if people have got enough on their plates as well, I think, well, why would I want to add more to them trying to worry about me? And it's quite it's a selfish yet selfless. It's a double-edged sword, because you want to ask for help, you don't want to burden people. You know, you don't want to show that so-called weakness, which isn't actually weak. You know, so yeah, thank you for sharing that, mate. That's when people start talking about that stuff, you don't realize how heavy life can be sometimes. And you know, from the outside looking in, everyone can think she's got it made, not a care in the world, but behind closed doors, it can be a completely different beast. And that's why, like, I listen to a lot of Dr. Joe Dispenza and how he says, you know, living in love, not actually in love with people, but in love, like the actual feeling of love. And the more you can sort of give and help, and it just makes your whole world and universe better. And that's something I'm really trying to focus on, is living more in love and trying to not sweat the small stuff and stop stressing about the little things. And because it just runs you down, man, you know?
Massive. It does. It's massive. And it's all mindset, you know, and everyone's a work in progress. You know, we always think that we have to be perfect and stuff, but no one's perfect. You know, everyone's working on something, you know, and I think it's the most valuable thing you can do is to, you know, work on yourself. Because, for instance, if we're in a family unit, you've got kids, and you're letting, like you said, you are sweating the small stuff, you let small things get you. That just takes away from the relationship with your wife, the relationship with your kids. So it's been able to, you know, be the best that you can be, so then those people get the best of you.
Yeah.
You know, vice versa.
And speaking of the best of you and or Ridge, the Brawling Brutes. The Brawling Brutes. So this is your trio. What do you?
Brawling Brutes.
Is it still a tag team? You still tag team trio?
We're a faction. We call it a faction. So Seamus is primarily the singles guy. Big Ginge, he's the singles guy, and then there's me and Butcher, the probably the tag team.
So Seamus, I read that he was one of your heroes, one of your idols, sort of.
So it's funny
through.
Because when I first got, that was the storyline. Like, Seamus is only like 10 years older than me, so
I fell for it.
So you know, it's just how it is. But like, it was weird for me, because I'm like, oh, I would have to be about 20 for him to be one of my heroes, because he came through a bit after. Like all my heroes were like Stone Cold Steve Austin, guys like that,
Attitude
Bret
era.
Hart, people like that, yeah. But no, Sheamus, he's a 15-year vet. He's been with the company 15 years. The only thing that he hasn't won is the Intercontinental Championship. He's as hungry now, he's as passionate now as he was when he walked in the door. So, been around him and been around that passion, been around that kind of enthusiastic energy. You kind of, you take it on board, and then you've got Butch, who's like wild little brother. That's his character, but he's been wrestling since he was 12. He's 29 now.
Wow.
And he's been wrestling since he was 12. And we call him Pete Dunne. He's probably, in my opinion, the best wrestler in the world.
Wow.
Like his mind, he's unbelievable. So I couldn't be in better company.
Yeah.
So you've got Sheamus, you've got Pete Dunne, then there's old fat-head Ridge in the middle there, just soaking it up. So,
mate, you've been too hard on yourself. How is it, mate? Obviously, you associate wrestling with quite an individual sport, quite individualized. What's it like being back in sort of that? Even though there's only 2 or 3 of you, what's it like being that little team, that fraction? Obviously, you come from a team sport background.
it's
Having got mates you can joke around with and share a ring with, share an arena with. That must be good.
Yeah. It's great, and we all travel together and stuff. So, well, primarily it's me and Pete that travel together because we both live in Orlando. Sheamus is based in Nashville. So Sheamus will travel with Drew McIntyre and I'll travel with Pete. So we've both, in a roundabout way, I've got that camaraderie on the road and stuff. And it's great having people there to bounce ideas off and people to rein you in. If you're doing something that's out and out wrong, you've got 2 fellas there that will say, "Hey, come here. What you did then, that was terrible. Never do that again."
Yeah.
So you've got some accountability there.
Yeah. What is like on the road? Like what does the schedule look like for you weekly?
Yeah. So weekly, I fly out on like a Thursday afternoon to wherever we're going. We have TV on Friday, so we'll do the TV show. Then we'll get in the car. We'll drive to the next town. We'll have a live event Saturday. Do that. Drive to the following town. Have a live event Sunday, and then we'll fly home Monday. So we're on the road Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Get home Monday. Tuesday, Wednesday, a little bit of Thursday to wash all your particulars, and then you're straight back on the road again.
See, that's something you don't sort of.
It's hectic.
I can imagine, mate, and again, a lot of sacrificing time away from your family as well. But there's a greater play at hand here. As athletes, we only have a short window to chase our dreams are, and big respect to your wife and your kids for supporting you on that again, mate. So what's the aspirations and dreams for Ridge Holland? Obviously, you're more than happy with the Brawling Brutes. Do you want to branch out to your own thing, or do you sort of just going to see where the wind takes you?
I mean, with factions, it's always one of those things where they do eventually split. I probably do see like a bit of a singles run coming for myself and for Butch. Sheamus is still doing his single stuff now, but yeah, I'd love to get out there and have a little bit of a run. But it's just at the moment, it's just proving myself every week. I'm not really looking too far ahead. It's more or less on a short show, day-to-day basis. It's like, okay, well, I did this last week. How can I improve on that this week? And just showing the bosses that I'm improving every week and I'm getting better. That's the main thing. And if I'm pulling reactions from the people, from the crowd, again, it's just all about creating your brand and just showing people what you can do. Because I feel like I've been so stop-start in my career with wrestling, with the injuries and stuff. I'm just focusing on having a smooth run and just improving. And then obviously as we get further on down the line, I reckon I've got probably 47. I might like to wrap it in, maybe if I look after myself. So I've maybe 12 years it left in me. I'd love to be able to go down the coaching route, maybe producing, just to give back. That's what I want to do. I want to be able to help other people, and I'd love to be able to get into an initiative where I can fly back to England or come to Australia and talk to clubs, to rugby clubs, and speak to players that, rugby is great at the moment, but there's this other thing that you can branch out into, if you can drop, a little bit of an ego and stuff and not be afraid to make a bit of an idiot of yourself. There's a whole world out there. So if I can kind of, make other people and make other athletes realise that there's another line of work out there, and it's not retiring from rugby isn't a death sentence.
Yeah.
It's just in fact, it could be the best thing that happens
Definitely
to you, because it's the best thing that happened to me. Me stopping playing rugby was the best thing that ever happened to me.
Wow.
So I'd love to be able to share my story with a lot of other people.
Yeah. And speaking of your platform, you're obviously a great man and you want to give back in that. How has that transition been from, Luke Menzies in the UK to now being a WWE superstar? You've got over 50,000 followers on Instagram. You're performing in front of thousands of people live, millions of people on TV. I'm sure you get stopped for your autograph and pictures and everything like that. For such a humble bloke like yourself, how has that transition been as well? Because that's a lot of stuff that a lot of people might not necessarily understand or appreciate it until you have to go through it. And, that can be quite stressful going through it with the pressure and expectations and certain levels of privacy being restricted, things like that. But how have you found that transition?
It's been okay. I think I've managed to take it all in my stride, but the main thing is, with fans and stuff, and like you say, a little bit of privacy gets compromised and stuff, but just be nice. I've always said like the fans, same as rugby, the fans pay your wages, you know what I mean? They pay good money. A lot of our fans are working class families. Do they really have the money to come to a wrestling show? No, but they'll scrimp, they'll save, to bring the kids. So whatever I'm going through, it pales in comparison to whatever they're going through. So if you just be nice and yeah, I love meeting the fans and stuff, and it actually brightens my day. Like if they ask me, if I'm at the airport and someone asks me for an autograph, I'm like, yeah, whenever. I'll have a little chat with them and ask how the day is going. But the transition, it's been really good actually, because I've had good mentors since I started wrestling, so they've kind of teed me up on what to expect and how to carry myself, how to act, and what to expect. Guys like William Regal, people like that, Shawn Michaels, Triple H, they all kind of give you a little tidbits of advice on how the business works and what you might encounter in the business. So because of those guys and those guys' influence, I think the transition has been pretty fluid. So I like we always say, this is an individual thing, but I wouldn't be here without the help of a lot of very selfless people. Regal, my old coach Marty, even like Pete Dunne, he helps me massively. With any success that anyone has is very rarely contributed just to themselves. It's it's almost a team behind them.
Yeah, mate, I firmly believe that too. And there's an old saying, self-made, but I don't necessarily agree with that. I feel like every individual sport has a coach, a team. Even me doing this podcast, I've asked for help just due to the fact that I'm not illiterate in technology as much as I'd like to be. So what's next for you, mate? What's next? When are you next back in the UK?
Actually, we just found out over the weekend. I am actually back we've got a show in Birmingham on the 25th of April. We've also got a show in Manchester the 26th. Then we're in Belfast and then Paris. So we've got a nice little European tour there. So if you're about, mate, I'd love to be able to get you to come to the Manchester show if you're free.
Love that.
If you want to come and but yeah, so yeah, April, the end of April, I'm back. Just after WrestleMania, we've got WrestleMania the 1st and 2nd of April, so that'll be big. I'm flying my old man over.
How good.
So to come to WrestleMania with me, so he'll probably get me sacked, to be honest with my old man, because he's
mate,
he's a bit like. Have you seen the Inbetweeners? Yeah. Obviously you have, yeah. Yeah, well, you know Jay's dad. Well, that's my dad. He's just like that, inappropriate. Just doesn't care what he thinks. Doesn't care what he says. He
Just
just
say it's Luke's dad, not
different
Ridge's
generation.
dad. You can't sack Ridge.
That's it. Yeah, I'm just gonna.
That's his alter ego. Put him to the side.
I'm just gonna leave him in the hotel room. I think.
Just shack him up with Seamus for the night. I'm sure Seamus will sort him out.
There we go. Yeah, he will. I'm sure he will.
Mate, I've learned so much, and I'm really grateful for you to jump on here and share your story, and I cannot wait to see what's next for you. I genuinely mean that. I cannot wait to see where Luke Menzies, where he develops as a man away from the ring, you know, as a father, as a parent, a father, a husband, a friend, a son. I can't wait to see that evolution. But at the same time, I'm just curious to see how Ridge Holland goes. I feel like when you have a foot in the door, which I feel like I do with you, I feel like I'm riding it with you, you know, and
yeah.
I'm glad I don't have to feel the impacts or the physicality of it anymore. I'm too old and fragile, but it's just so cool to see like someone you know and care about do something so cool. So mate, I can't wait to see what happens next for Luke as a man and Ridge as a WWE superstar.
Cheers, pal. And I'll just say that, you know, if I can you know, impact anyone, especially rugby's made me the man that I am today. You know, it builds huge amounts of character. I think it's probably the most valuable thing that I got into because of the discipline that it you know that it brings out in you. And like I was the first. I'm not blowing my own trumpet here, but it's just showing people that it's possible. You know, I'm the first rugby league player to get signed to the WWE, make it to the main roster, wrestle at WrestleMania, wrestle at the Royal Rumble. You know, I'm the first guy from Yorkshire to do so. So if I can do it, like me, I feel like I'm the great usurper, massive imposter syndrome. You know, I should not be here.
I wouldn't get that far, mate.
You know,
you've earned your stripes.
You know, I shouldn't be. Yeah, but I feel, that's what I feel. You know, so if I can do it, and if I can help anyone else make the transition, mate, that makes me happy. I want to help people. You know, that's what we're put on earth to do. We're here to pass it forward, pay it forward, and help people. So I appreciate you having me on, mate, and it's been great to see you because I don't think we've seen each other in a few years, but it's always nice to touch base with old war partners. 100%. You know what I mean? So,
mate, I'm going to ask you one last question, and it is podcast and what people determine as success. Now, success can be seen as someone with a good job, a lot of money, nice car. Others might see success as being happy, healthy, whatever they determine as it. Now, I'd love to hear your definition of success. You know, we've sort of spoken about the other side of perceived success, the injuries, the mental challenges, the sacrifices, the adversity you've had to overcome. What do you determine? What is your definition of success in Luke Menzies and Ridge Holland's opinion?
My definition of success would be to work hard enough to get to a level where I'm able to enrich the lives of the people around me.
Write that down. Again, that just comes from the selflessness of you, mate, as a provider. So, big respect to that. Mate, absolute superstar. Know? Appreciate it, mate. Thank you so much for being our first guest on the show. Wish you nothing but success, and hopefully, maybe when you are in Manchester, if you get it now, we can actually do another episode in person.
Mate, put it in the book now. Like, let's do it. Like, we'll find a way. I'm up for it. So, if you want, you know, yeah, I might have to get you to sign a disclaimer, but we can get in there.
I want steel chairs, tables, ladder and chair match. Me and Ridge. I need to come up with a name and an outfit. I'm not wearing jar. I'm not wearing.
There we go.
I'm not going any good down there, son. I'll just wear cargo pants or something.
Exactly. Hey, mate. Oh man, it'd be great, man. If you see, we'll give you we'll let you come backstage and meet a few of the boys, and we'll get you a little bit of a tour and stuff. So I'll be more than happy for you to come back, and we'll get it sorted, man.
All right, Luke. Absolutely, super grateful, mate. Appreciate this. Look after yourself. Enjoy the rest of the week, and good luck with the next events coming up, mate. I'll be tuning in.
Cheers, Pato. Thanks, mate.
See you,
All
mate.
the best, buddy.
Bye.